Hello everyone, and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Bill Spencer had seen a lot of things put on his doorstep over the years. Angry letters, embarrassing gift baskets from business partners seeking to soften him up, and even a dedicated admirer who insisted she was meant to be his next bride. But nothing prepared him for the little bundle he discovered on a cool, foggy morning in Los Angeles. He hadn't gotten much sleep the night before. Something about the home felt uneasy and restless, as if the walls themselves sensed an impending storm. Bill attributed it to the anxiety he'd been carrying for weeks, Luna's unusual behavior, Katie's distance, and the unshakable suspicion that someone was concealing a secret about him. He pushed open the heavy front door, expecting to grab the paper, yell at the wind for scattering the landscape, and then return inside for coffee. Instead, he froze. A woven baby carrier rested in the center of the stone step, covered in a pale yellow blanket embroidered with tiny silver moons. He looked at it, hardly breathing, his pulse pounding so hard that he believed the sound alone would awaken the whole estate. For a long moment, he merely remained there, unable to reach for it or look away. Then it moved. A tiny, soft, unbelievably delicate hand pushed up, shifting the blanket to show a baby's face. An infant, perhaps a few weeks old. An infant glanced at him with stunningly familiar blue eyes. Bill dropped to one knee without realizing it. He murmured, "What the hell?" The baby let out a quiet coo and sigh, as if happy that he had finally opened the door. There was a message attached to the blanket. Bill's fingers hesitated before pulling it free. His stomach constricted. He unfurled it slowly. "Bill, this is your son." That was it. No signature. There's no explanation. There are no instructions. He sprang up, surprised and shaken, holding the baby in his arms. His mind raced with questions. Whose child? Why leave him here? Who would do this to a baby? Who would have done this to him? He felt the usual flare of rage rising, the one that occurs when someone attempts to manipulate him. But, beneath the shock and uncertainty, he discovered something unexpected, something close to terror. He carried the baby inside with care, almost gently. The house was silent. The sun had not yet fully risen. He placed the carrier on the marble counter and peered at it as if it could vanish if he blinked. He should contact someone. The police. His security team. His sons. However, the first person who came to mind was Katie. Katie had always been the one who kept his life together. Katie had finally begun to let her guard down after everything they had been through. Katie, who wasn't present because she stormed out the night before, unhappy that he hadn't been truthful about the mounting tensions surrounding Luna. Katie would be devastated by this. And then there was Luna. Just thinking about her name made his jaw tighten. There had been too many strange moments lately. The phone calls she avoided, the way she fell silent, and the way she cringed whenever he mentioned honesty. Something was off. He ran his hand through his hair before reaching for his phone. Before he could make a call, the front door opened. Bill whirled, instinct springing into place, body still, eyes alert, prepared for anything. Luna stood at the doorway. Her hair was tied into a tangled knot, her eyes were crimson, and her skin was pale. She resembled someone who had walked through a storm and left her soul behind. When she spotted the infant on the counter, her face fell. "No," she said quietly. "He wasn't supposed to, Bill. I'm so sorry." He didn't respond. Couldn't. Luna stepped forward, shivering frantically. "I tried to solve everything before it came to this point. I tried, I swear." Bill swallowed and said quietly, "Start talking." Luna's breath caught. She raised a palm to her mouth, as if to suppress a sob. "I should not have come back here. I wasn't supposed to come back." The words made no sense, but they felt like an answer to a query he couldn't formulate. Bill waited. Luna finally met his gaze. "He's mine," she stated softly. "Mine and yours." The room appeared to shrink and the air thickened. Bill felt like the floor was tilting beneath him. Luna approached the counter, looking down at the baby with a mix of love and sadness. "I did not leave him here. I would never."
Someone followed me.
Someone knew. They did this because I refused to carry out the plan. Bill tightened his grasp on the counter's edge. What's the plan? Luna broke. Raw, uncontrollable tears rushed down her face. The plan was to disappear. The room was silent. She dropped into a chair and buried her face in her hands. It wasn't meant to be like this. I attempted to protect him. I attempted to protect you. I attempted to protect everyone. Bill opened his lips to reply, but the front door flew open again, this time forcefully. Katie. But she'd already seen the baby. Her kneecaps buckled. She tumbled to the floor, hands covering her face, letting forth a sound that was neither a sob nor a scream.
No.
Not again. Bill, please, not again. Bill raced to her, panicked. Katie, don't, just let me explain, she gasped, scarcely breathing. There's a baby, another baby, and you're standing there with her. She raised a shaky finger to Luna. You claimed nothing was going on. You swore, Bill. You swore. Luna's voice rang out across the room. Katie, it's not what you think. Katie shielded her ears. Don't.
Do not talk to me.
I can't hear this, Bill said, kneeling alongside her and laying a steadying hand on her shoulder. Listen, Katie. Please. But she shook her head furiously, sobbing, and her shoulders trembled so hard he thought she'd break apart completely. First Steffi, then Brooke, then every lie you've ever told. Bill, I can't do it again. This isn't what it seems like. Katie's chuckle was broken and shattered. It never is. Luna walked carefully toward them, as if stepping on broken glass. Katie, he didn't know. Bill was unaware of the baby. I did not tell him. That was me. That was all me, Bill said, looking up abruptly. You said the kid was mine. He is, Luna said. But I didn't tell you, because I didn't know how. And then it was too late. Then someone else became involved. Someone who desired leverage and power, which I was unwilling to offer. Bill's intuition intensified. Who? Luna's lips twitched. Someone who knows your weaknesses. Someone who understands having a child affects everything. Katie pressed her eyes shut. Stop. Just quit. I can't breathe. Bill threw his arm around her, attempting to settle her trembling frame. Katie, we're going to figure this out. You already have a baby, Bill, she told me. You have a baby that is not mine. And you're holding him as if he belonged here. Bill gulped hard. He was left at my doorway. I can't just ignore it. Katie gazed at the infant intently. Her expression softened, painfully and unwillingly. He has your eyes. The baby cooed quietly, as if it heard her words. Luna visibly folded. I never intended to hurt either of you. So, why hide something like this? Bill demanded. Luna moved closer. Because the father wasn't meant to matter. Because I wasn't supposed to stay in Los Angeles. I didn't want my baby dragged into your world, with its conflicts, enemies, and power plays. I figured running would keep him safe. But someone discovered out. Someone who intends to use him as leverage. Last night, they threatened him. They threatened his life. Bill felt something cold, calculated, and lethal rise within him. Who? He repeated quietly. Luna looked down. I do not know his real name, but he calls himself the broker. And he knows everything about you. The room fell silent. Katie shuddered. Bill. Bill's jaw tightened. He made a mistake by coming after my family. Luna collapsed into a chair, tired. I need aid. Katie murmured. What about me? I didn't know where else to go. What should I do with this? Bill gazed at her with pain.
Stay. Please. You do not have to make any decisions right now.
But don't walk away. Katie rose shakily, wiping her tears. She gazed between Bill, Luna, and the baby, 3 lives linked by an unexpected mystery. I need air, she explained softly. She stepped to the door, bracing herself against the wall as she approached. Bill did not follow. Not yet. Instead, he returned to the baby, his baby, and the woman who had brought havoc to his door. Luna raised her eyes, begging. I want him safe. I don't care what happens to me. Bill tenderly picked the infant and placed him on his chest. The baby immediately relaxed, as if detecting something familiar and comfortable. Bill looked at the little face pushed against him. A baby. He had a baby. A secret. A threat. A confession that could change everything. He breathed slowly. Luna, he said. From this point forward, nothing occurs to him. Nothing. I'll defend him. And I will track down the individual who did this. Luna nodded, tears streaming softly. And Katie, she whispered. Bill stared at the door Katie had gone through. We deal with one crisis at a time, he told reporters. But I will not lose her. Not this time. Outside, Katie stood on the balcony, grasping the railing and attempting to hold her breath against the weight of reality. Bill made a quiet commitment to the kid he held in his arms. Nothing would ever remain the same. The morning light crept through the silk curtains of Bill Spencer's massive Bel Air estate, spreading long shadows across the marble foyer. It was quieter than usual, a profound silence, as if the air itself was holding its breath. The doorbell rang once, a shrill ring that pierced the silence, like a blade. Bill was already awake. He had not slept. Not really. The previous 48 hours had been a flurry of accusations, discoveries, and emotional devastation that only the Forrester, Logan, and Spencer families appeared capable of delivering. He walked barefoot down the big staircase in a black silk robe, his hair somewhat tousled and the lines around his eyes darker than they had been a year before. He was not expecting anyone. Not at 6:30 in the morning. He opened the door. On the top step, a baby was covered in a soft pink blanket embroidered with small silver stars. A newborn. Her delicate features and silky down of dark hair on her head suggest that she is only a few days old. Her small fingers were curled against her cheeks, and she slept soundly, ignorant of the maelstrom she was about to unleash. A single envelope was placed next to the newborn, in a wicker basket lined with the same soft blanket. Thick cream paper. His name was written in handwriting that he hadn't seen in months. Luna. Bill's heart stopped. He crouched carefully, as if the ground would give way beneath him, and grabbed the envelope with shaking fingers. The infant stirred slightly, but did not awaken. He ripped it open. There was a letter inside. One page. Luna's looping, emotive storyline takes up every inch. My dearest Bill, if you are reading this, I have completed the most difficult task I have ever faced. This is our daughter. Her name is Willow. Willow Noel Spencer. I selected it because willows bend but never break, and Noel was born soon after midnight on Christmas morning, in the midst of Los Angeles's worst snowstorm in decades. She arrived early. She came quickly. And she entered a world that was not prepared for the reality. I lied to you. I lied to everybody. I hadn't been drugged that night. Not entirely. I remember everything. I remember desiring you. I recall picking you. I recall how you gazed at me as if I were the only one in the room, even though Poppy was crying and the world was falling apart. I recall thinking that for one night, I could have something authentic. Something that was not based on my mother's machinations or my own desire to belong. Then the test came back, and it stated that you were the father. I panicked, because I knew what would happen to Katie, to William,
To your family.
to mine. So I let Poppy convince me that it was the mints. Special mints. I let her construct the deception because it was easier than acknowledging I'd crossed a line I couldn't undo. I portrayed myself as a victim, but in reality, I was not. Not exactly. I adored you that night, Bill. I still do. I keep the quiet portions of myself hidden from others. I loved you enough to let go. To make you despise me. To make you think the worst because it was nicer than the truth. But Willow deserves more than secrets. She deserves a father who will love her as deeply as you loved your sons. Even when things went wrong, you still loved Katie. The way you love with your entire being, even when it breaks you. I cannot keep her. Not like this. Not while I'm still trying to figure out who I am without my mother hovering over me. Not while the press will tear her apart before she can walk. Not while I'm still too afraid to stand in front of you and tell you all of this. So I am handing her to you. I've never met another man who would go to any length for his child. There are legal documents in the basket. I have signed everything. Full custody. No contest. She is yours, Bill. She has always been yours.
Tell her about me someday.
Not the version that everyone believes they know. This is the genuine me. The girl who loved too much, too fast, and made bad decisions because she wanted to feel something other than empty. I am leaving Los Angeles.
For good this time.
I don't know where I'm going. Maybe someplace quiet. Somewhere I can breathe. Take good care of our daughter, Bill. And, if you can forgive me.
I'm so sorry.
A tear spilled from Bill's eye and landed on the page, smearing the ink where she wrote her name. He did not notice. He was staring at Willow, a baby who had just opened her eyes. Dark blue, just like his. Like Liam's. Like Wyatt's. Spencer's eyes. She gazed at him and made a faint, soft sound. And something within Bill Spencer, the man who had survived betrayal, loss, and decades of conflict in boardrooms and bedrooms, sprang open. He reached down and gently pulled her into his arms. She was really little, so warm. She smelled of baby powder, new life, and second chances. "Hey, little girl," he said softly, his voice raspy with passion. "I'm your father." Willow stared up at him, yawned, small mouth wide open, and nestled against his chest as if she'd always been there. Bill stood at the doorway for a long time, holding his daughter and clutching the letter in one hand as the morning sun rose behind him. He didn't hear the automobile pull up. I didn't hear the fast footsteps. I didn't notice Katie Logan until she was standing at the bottom of the stairs, her face pale and her eyes wide with horror. She'd come to confront him. One final time. About Luna. About the falsehoods. About the paternity test, which had ripped her world apart yet again. But then she noticed the baby. And the basket. Bill's face was covered with tears, and he was clutching a child as if she were the most beautiful thing he'd ever touched. "Bill?" Her voice scarcely rose beyond a whisper. What is this?" He looked up. I met her gaze. And for once, Bill Spencer was speechless. Katie climbed the stairs slowly, almost as if in a dream. She looked at the infant. Look at the blanket. The envelope is still in Bill's hand. "Luna?" she inquired, already knowing the answer. Bill nodded. Katie's hand shot to her mouth. She let out a sound that was a combination of sob, scream, and something ancient and shattered. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." She backed away, shaking her head and crying. "Katie," Bill began, moving Willow gently in his arms. "Don't," she choked. "Don't say my name like that." She was unable to continue her sentence. She turned and fled down the stairs, stumbling. Bill called after her, but she did not stop. She got to the driveway before her legs gave out. Katie Logan sank to her knees on the chilly sidewalk, a guttural, sorrowful wail from her voice as she slammed her fists on the earth. She yelled, not in words, just sheer animal anguish. The boom resonated across the calm morning, scaring birds in the treetops. Inside the mansion, Justin heard it. It was heard by the entire workforce. Ridge and Brooke, who were on their way to an emergency family meeting, heard it from halfway down the street. But Bill did not move. He stood in the doorway, holding his daughter, watching the lady he had loved for decades fall apart in front of him. And, for the first time in his life, Bill Spencer wasn't sure how to solve it. Willow began to cry, softly at first, then loudly, as if she sensed the devastation all around her. Bill drew her closer and kissed the top of her head. "Sure," he muttered. "That's okay. I got you." He said, "I've got you." But he knew nothing was okay. Not anymore. Luna was gone. Katie was shattered. And the truth, which he had always demanded of everyone else, had finally come home to roost. Bill closed the door quietly, drowning out Katie's sobs. He took Willow inside, past the magnificent staircase, the portraits of his sons, and the life he'd made and shattered 100 times. He sat in the living room, in the same chair where he'd proposed to Katie, cuddled Will as a newborn, and grieved when Brooke abandoned him for Ridge again. And he clutched his daughter. His and Luna's. Poppy wanted to claim a baby that was not his. The baby who had ripped his family apart. The infant was now the only thing keeping what remained of him together. Outside, Katie was still crying. But within, for the first time in months, Bill Spencer experienced something he had not felt in a long time.
Peace.
Not happy. Not redemption. However, there is a purpose. This young girl needed him. And for once, Bill was not going to disappoint anyone. Not her. Not ever.